Welcome to New Broker, the podcast dedicated to providing insights and inspiration for building a new broking business.
Hello and welcome back to New Broker. I'm your host for today, Annie Kane. And this week we're talking to a Queensland-based broker in the form of Nicholas Barker, the Director and Mortgage Broker at Brokers for Queensland. And Nicholas is one of the new brokers that has come across the fence from banking. And in this episode of New Broker, we're picking his brain about how he's done it all, what he did to hit the ground running, and his plans for the future. Thanks for joining me, Nicholas. How are you going?
Annie, I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me on the New Broker podcast, which is one of the shows we do here on The Advisor, looking at all the different myriad routes and ways people come into broking and how they've been setting up their business for success. Now, you are a long-term banker who became a broker. You actually started at ANZ before working at Westpac for a decade, then joined BOQ, and now in April last year became a broker. How did you find that transition from banking to broking, and why did you decide to become a broker?
I'm getting used to calling myself a broker, but it was a transition from being a banker. For a little while there in the office, we talked about can't wait till I'm being a proper broker. We're feeling like we're there now, 12 months in.
Yep.
So the transition was difficult at first, getting out of the old ways into the new ways, and then obviously moving forward and having some good success in the last 12 months.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's always interesting to me when we talk to former bankers, it's been like, is there any preconceptions you had of broking before you started that you kind of were like, what do you mean you have to do this as a broker?
Preconceptions were it would be very similar with some of the engagements with the banks, which it definitely hasn't been. Some of our past experiences being in a bank was if you took a phone call from a credit officer to talk about a client's file or an approval, it wasn't always a nice conversation, whereas the new broker world, when we get a phone call, usually the credit officer is calling to say thank you.
Oh,
so
that's
it
nice.
was just such a nice surprise.
That's nice that it's the other way around. I would have thought it'd be like if you were in banking and you're talking to the credit assessors because you're all in the same boat, they would be more collegiate. But interesting it's not that way.
Not always the case.
Yeah. So why did you decide to become a broker and come over to the bright side?
And in my journey into mortgage broking was a little bit slow after I had some transition moments in my last business in banking, and it took me a little while to get my head around that I was going to be a mortgage broker. Not from a industry point of view, just whether there was something else different to do. But once I worked out that, I just love helping people and I love finance, it was always going to be mortgage broking. And instead of going with a name like Nicholas Capital or something like this, I thought, why wouldn't I go a little bit bigger and go Brokers for Queensland?
Yeah.
We're having a good crack at it.
I mean, I feel like it sounds like it's a massive group, that you're like almost a sort of, a union of brokers who are kind of working in Queensland, Brokers for Queensland, or maybe working for the Queensland Tourism Board, you're kind of, we're for Queensland.
Yeah, very provocative for Queensland, so it works for me.
Yeah, and where exactly are you based?
Based on the Sunshine Coast, which was home the last 10 years for us, but obviously good place to grow a business. There's plenty going on in southeast Queensland, but it's a place we're well known, so that helps.
Yeah. And so when you were in banking before, were you actually in the lending side of things? Were you doing kind of, the management side of things? What were you actually doing?
I actually stumbled into banking at ANZ into agribusiness, of all things, which I didn't have an agri background, but learned a little bit along the way. From there, I did commercial lending and then obviously ran some teams when I was at Westpac in the retail division. So I did a little bit of everything before landing into my last business, which was a blend of all banking solutions.
And so when you became a broker, did you decide you were going to specialise in any particular niche? Are you doing everything? What kind of loans are you writing?
And we've decided to go with end-to-end solutions where we can. We've just said yes to everything. Two of our best stories I love to share is we helped a gentleman called Kerry with a reverse mortgage for $72,000. Kerry just needed a small little top-up to his regular pension to get him through a couple of years and help his wife, who wasn't well, stay in the same house. So that was nice. And we've recently just settled a $54 million refinance from one big four bank to another in the commercial banking space. So such a wide...
It seems like can't be a house, yeah.
So it's different hats on at different times, but we're saying yes to everything.
Yeah. Well, you said we a few times there. So who's who at Brokers for Queensland?
I was blessed for one of my colleagues from BOQ to come join me straight away. He recently retired, which was pretty cool moment, but he had a stint at broker for a while. But another good teammate has joined me recently, Caitlin. She's a real godsend. She's been doing great stuff for us. Harrison joined us. He's new to industry. Another success story where he's gone from being new to industry and now he's an accredited broker. Hopefully he'll get his first approval this month.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Really cool. Yeah. My wife, Christy, joined us, obviously. She's the brains behind the admin piece and she does a lot of our social media. And recently we were fortunate to have Carol come join us as well.
So you're 5 people already?
Correct.
And you're only, 12 months in?
That's right.
That's a huge acceleration. Did you always know when you first started Brokers for Queensland that you were going to have multiple people?
That was the plan, Annie, because I was really keen to go big. If we're going to do it, we're going to have a good crack at it. And you can't call yourself Brokers for Queensland and be solely based on the Sunshine Coast. So we've got some growth plans set up to do later this year, hopefully early next year.
Yeah.
But it all takes good people to come on board and help your clients.
Wow. So what does everyone do?
Harrison very much originally was helping us on board our clients, but now he's transitioning into his own space, and he's got a bit of a flair for going out and talking to real estate agents and other young professionals. So he's doing a lot of networking on that front, at the same time having to come back to the office and cross his T's and dot his I's. So very steep learning curve for him. Caitlin very much focuses on our PAYG, first-time buyers, non-complex self-employed home loans. Despite having the skills to deal with other styles of clients, if we keep her diary pretty tight like that, she can maintain her efficiencies and be prompt with her service. Carol is our broker coach. So she's the proper real broker in the office. She's been in the industry for 15 years. So we're learning some new things there just to really polish up how we support our clients and engage with the different banks.
Yep. And is your wife still doing the admin?
Wife's still doing admin.
Yeah. Office administrator.
Head down, bum up at the moment. Obviously, with all the self-managed super fund files we're trying to get through, there's a bit of urgency there, as we all know.
Yep.
But we'll get that done for the clients that need support. And I'm jack of everything, having a good red hot go at A to Z. So.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, like looking at how you actually build a business, and you've done it so quickly, you know, as I said, only 12 months in and already got 5 team members. How do you actually kind of plan for that? Like, did you look at when you first started your broking career going, I know I want to have a broker that is this size and that has this many people, and therefore I need to be earning this much money so that I can pay them all? Like, how did you actually visualize that track?
There's a front-end investment that started the whole program, obviously, but the key for me was when's the tipping point of turning that investment into a recurring income, the recurring income then turning into an asset base that leverages off to the next stage. Knowing that when you get good people to come help you grow a business and they buy into the plan, and our plan or our vision is to help as many humans as we can. So by having that strategy in play and having good people come join us, the opportunities just continue to present themselves. So the more and more in business, the more you can see where you can help in different industry lines or different parts of the market, and that'll hopefully help with our growth into the Brisbane market.
Wow, yeah. So looking at then, I guess, the biggest decision you probably need to make when you first start out is thinking, well, what kind of business do I want? Do I want to grow my own brand? Do I want to join an existing brand? Do I want to be a franchise? Do I want to be a broker along someone else? How did you arrive at, firstly, you know, the decision of the structure, and secondly, the aggregator that you chose?
Aggregation choice was an easy choice for myself. Fortunately, a couple of my colleagues were looking into the aggregators quite deeply, and I got a short list of who I needed to talk to, so I did that interview process. And when I come across Stuart MoneyQuest, it was a no-brainer for us to start that partnership, and it's been great since.
Yep.
The strategy on going with Brokers for Queensland just felt right. And saying that, though, I do have a few contacts in different marketing departments, and thought, you know, how's this going to work? How's this going to resonate? And where's this going to hit for us if we want to go a bit bigger?
So 12 months in, we just started FY27, looking up, kind of rounding up for FY26. How did you go in your first year?
We cracked the 100 for me personally, which was a good outcome.
But you personally alone, 100 mil?
100 mil. The office hit 145, which was good going.
That is amazing.
We were a little bit slow out of the blocks, so the first few months weren't quite as productive as we'd like, and I snuck a couple too many holidays in last year as well, so I'm looking forward to what we can do this year.
Yeah, well, I think any new broker starting out would be very pleased with settling 100 mil in their first 12 months, because as we know, it can take, as you sort of said there, a while to get things running, to get the first deal settled, and then obviously to get paid. I will talk a little bit more about how you actually do what you do in the second third of this podcast, but before I do, can you walk me through what your first loan was that settled?
First loan settled. It was for a property investment friend of mine. We're helping him restructure his property investments. The bank that he'd worked with had cross-securitized all the securities. So we've gone through and unwound all that. Done his fixed and variable strategy, and obviously an interest only and a P&I strategy for some of his properties as well. So that was the first one. We're fortunate to deal with Suncorp for those guys. They were progressive at the time to help that bring together.
Yeah. And do you find that your banking experience helps you when it comes to structuring the loans? Like, do you kind of go, I already know all the policy for, let's say, AZ and Westpac and BOQ, and therefore I kind of know what I'm doing? Or was there anything that you had to learn as a broker?
Relearning what we didn't know. So policy obviously changes, albeit had experiences at ANZ and Westpac and a few others. But it was really trying to make sure that I didn't get a client too far down the conversation. Even though the interest rate might have been attractive, it may not have been the main thing that was going to help them achieve what they wanted to. So I don't know if that actually helped. It may have actually slowed me down a little bit in the first instance to make sure that we got it exactly right. But now that we're going well, we're doing it quicker.
Yep. We're going to take a quick break here, Nicholas. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about how you actually got your first lead through the door and what sort of structure you have in terms of actually workflow and making sure all those deals get done with a high volume business. And we'll get into that just after this break. So looking at the first 12 months, obviously the big thing that a lot of new brokers have to figure out is where on earth am I getting my clients from? So how did you start generating your first business?
I had done a fair bit of advertising in my previous business relationships, and I went to that same network. So I went back to the radio station and advertised I was open for business, advertising that we're local and just happy to help out. Obviously, that resonated with people that had liked us in the past, but it was surprising, Annie, how many people reached out going, oh, thank God you're a broker now. I can actually get your support. They were just happy for us to have the choice to try and help them achieve what they wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have great relationships with local accountants, real estate agents. So our referral network started up pretty strongly after spending 10 years in the same postcode. So that's helped us do what we've done.
So a lot of your kind of experience of working in the banks and working, with other financial advisors and professional planners and what's the word I'm looking for? Referral partners. There we go. Working with referral partners previously kind of meant that you already had them set up and didn't really have to work too hard. Did you try and establish new referral partners as well when you became a broker?
I definitely have, because I feel like I've got more to offer. And it felt like that door was open the day I opened my business. One accountant reached out to me proactively because I'd helped their client in the past, and I hadn't had a referral partnership with these guys. He introduced 6 clients in the first couple of weeks.
Wow.
It was just
happy days.
It was just this wonderful thing. Again, being a broker, they're saying, you have the choice, Nicholas. You can help these guys like you could never help before. We didn't help everyone at that stage because they weren't quite ready, but we definitely went on the journey to see what we could do.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about, it kind of took a little bit longer to get the deals through the door than you would have liked. What do you think accounted for that? Was it the accreditation process? Was it learning the policy? Was it just the time of the year? Like, what was it that you think was sort of delaying what you thought was going to happen?
Good piece of it was the accreditation process. I was a little bit surprised with the industry that there was so much individual forms for each particular bank when we were just repetition after repetition and then waiting for that process to go through. It's wonderful. There's barriers to entry, obviously, but once you've done your accreditation and done your study, my assumption would have been that things would have been a little bit tighter in that process. But mixed into that was building a website, getting a team organised, getting an office premise. So I hadn't done any of that work, because I was a little bit slow with my decision to get into the mortgage industry.
Yeah. You did actually mention earlier about as well considering other careers. What were the other options? What could have Nicholas Barker 2026 look like?
I love helping business clients do strategy. And in my old role, I was allowed to also play a little bit of that, CFO type role for some of our bigger clients and making sure, a point of reference across that, leadership board of accountants, solicitor, and obviously your banker at the time. So I had contemplated doing something like that, having done an accounting degree, but I feel like I can still do that role, and that's why, I'm successful with some of those bigger commercial clients. You can still sit there and strategize and make sure the plan's going to come together.
Yeah. So you did things like radio ads to get awareness out there, but I mean, obviously there's not that many people that will be listening to a radio ad who'll have a $54 million loan and go, I'm going to use this broker. So how did you target these commercial businesses?
It was a conversation that started 6, maybe 8 years before. As a commercial banker, you're trying to find clients that have big exposures, that have good recurring rental income and obviously signature assets. So I'd done some research some time ago on who those people were in my postcode. Highly recommend anyone using RP data if they haven't already to try and do this sort of research, being mindful of there's limitations on how much you can use this from a marketing point of view, but it's easy enough to identify who that potential client could be.
And then what, just call them up and be like, Do you need a loan?
It is as simple as that.
Really?
Being bold, reaching out, making the phone call. Obviously, they're not going to return your phone call the first time, Annie. It took a long period of time to get that first meeting.
Yeah.
I always say relationships are the best that take the longest to come together. This one took a long time to come together.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it has to be sometimes. But if you do get on the flip side, if you do get in the door really quickly, sometimes there's a reason they've asked you to come in, and it's not always going to work out the right way.
Yeah. So be careful what you wish for. Right. And good things come to those who wait.
And have a good operating rhythm and a persistent, and do what they say they do.
Yeah. And you mentioned about having an office. So did you decide that you were going to have an office that the whole team is in? Is it somewhere that you have clients? Like, is it in a sort of heavy footfall area? Is it at home? Like, how did you actually decide what kind of premises you're going to be working from?
We've picked an office that's central in Alexandra Headlands. The foot traffic isn't quite as high as maybe we could have gone with. The beauty of this particular site, though, fits our team. The location's near the beach, so it's nice for the staff to have somewhere to go relax. That's important. Yeah. We are looking to move from that office into another office in the same building, a bit more prominence on the front of the street. We're currently on the car park, but it has a boardroom. We're going to have clients come in, and it works for us.
Do you think that's important for you to have an actual kind of physical premises that clients can come to you?
I'm still trying to get my head around this, Annie, from going from banker to broker. Obviously, with the bank, the footprint and the premise is so important to clients and why they pick that particular bank.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think it does have a connection for the client in some aspects, but I'm getting to learn that there's different clients that want different things. They pick a broker because of their personality, their skill set, what other people have said about them. So premise is probably in there somewhere, but I'm still trying to get my head around that.
Yeah. I mean, you've done so much in your first 12 months already. And I think a lot of new brokers will probably think, oh my goodness, I'm no way near that yet. I've just done my first year and I'm still struggling to think about what policy I need to use rather than thinking about, whether or not I'm going to hire yet. If you kind of look back at when you were first starting in your first few months, did you bring everyone in immediately, or did you kind of go, I'm going to need some processing support after a few months? Like, how long did it take before you had someone working alongside with you at Brokers for Queensland?
Day one, I had a good man by the name of Charlie come join me. We were learning on the same path together.
Is he the one that retired?
Yes. Yeah. And then maybe about 4 months in, we'd worked out that we needed someone else to help with some of the admin piece. Christy, my wife, was still coming on board, and we were training her. So how do we train her when we don't know what we're doing, like part of the process? Fortunately, Caitlin, on the third attempt, she always says I didn't ask properly, but on the third attempt, she agreed to come work for me.
I see, persistent.
Yeah, correct. That helped Charlie and I go back to focusing on some of the commercial clients, and Caitlin's really strong in the residential PYG. From there, it was just working out, where's our volumes going to come from and where's the pain point. So, but a lot during that first 6 months for those other brokers, still finding their feet. I said so regularly, I'm looking forward to having a win without the learnings, because there's just so many learnings where we went down dead ends or didn't quite follow the right path or didn't move fast enough or didn't ask the BDM the right question. They had the answer, we just didn't ask it, and therefore it just took a lot longer to do what we need to do.
That's a good opportunity then for me to ask you, like, what are some of the learnings you've learned? Like, what is some of maybe the biggest lesson you've learned along the way that you can maybe help impart to other people so they can avoid it?
Mine being having a lot of banking experience and finance experience was very much about the run-up. So I didn't make the decision to be a broker until a couple of weeks before actually starting the program, and it should have been months and months of planning and getting organised. And from that, I was on the back foot from the day dot. Yet people wanted to deal with me; they wanted to be involved, and we had to make a way. So it was really a lumpy sort of process to go through. So do your planning, interview your aggregator. Give me a call if you'd like to try and, is MoneyQuest the right place to work with? All those things that would help out, and do your prior planning to make sure that you're fully ready to go the day that you tell everyone what you're up to. Yeah.
And I guess that's a kind of, some people listening might think, oh, I wish I had people knocking at my door before I was ready. But then, as you say, it can be a curse because you're like, I'm actually not ready. Like, I need some more time.
This is it. And you want to say yes to everything. And you're like, wonderful. Okay, let's find out what we've got to do here. And then you got to find out who your BDM is. And then it steamrolls.
Yeah. Do you use any tools and technology in your business to help you do what you're doing day in, day out? Like, whether that's CRM or whether it's people tech, tools rather than kind of actual tech. I wonder how you actually do what you do.
Thankfully, a friend of mine introduced me to Remarkable. That's helping a lot.
That's the tablet that's sort of paper.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can convert it to text if your handwriting's not like mine, but you can convert it to PDF and send it off to your teammates for them to roll notes through. That's been really beneficial to get the business running and have a track record of who we're helping. Obviously, our internal CRM has been quite advantageous, and we're testing and learning as much as we can with Copilot. We haven't got agents moving yet, but we're really excited to see what they can look like once we get a bit more skills in the game on that.
Yeah, interesting. And when you come to actually then distributing out work, you talked about having kind of like people who maybe are slightly different specialists in different areas. Did you think that's an important step when you bring in other team members, is to have kind of people doing a bit of their own niche rather than kind of everyone doing the same thing?
Most definitely. And saying that, though, if we talk of Harrison, for example, Harrison today is working on a self-managed super fund residential deal.
Good luck, Harrison.
Yeah, correct. It's definitely stretching his skill set, but he's doing all the research behind the scenes, getting us all organised. If he was only pigeonholed to one style of client that he'd help, he wouldn't get to see that. So he's going to learn everything, and then wherever his core genius takes him will allow him to play. If he wants to do more of that, he definitely can, because the business will allow it. Or if he wants to come back to a client that's maybe a quicker transaction for a home loan refi, POIG, that might be where he lands as well. So it really is horses for courses, but it's what your core genius is and where you really want to play.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break here, Nicholas, and we come back. I'd like to talk to you about your future vision for the business. You talked about maybe having kind of grand plans. I'd like to get into that a little bit more. Also more around what kind of things you think are the big challenges in the broking industry as a whole and the big opportunities in the broking industry, plus what you do to unwind and de-stress. And we'll get into that just after this message. So Nicholas, if you think about what your future vision is, did you kind of set out with a long-term goal of being like, this is what I'm going to build my business to look like? Or is it kind of been growing organically as you gain more experience?
It started out with a vision to have multiple sites. In my past business interest, I was so extremely excited to help my staff, I call them peers, come on the journey and be a business owner. For no other reason than it is achievable for most people if they want to go there and have more financial independence than they have simply working for wages, albeit there's plenty to be achieved in that front as well. It never quite got there in my old world, despite my best endeavours to try and help people come on this journey. So I thought, why wouldn't I try it again in this new space? So the exact blueprint of what that looks like, Annie, is it's another postcode that we operate in. But that hopefully there's someone comes on the journey as a shareholder, as a future shareholder, and that so that they can also achieve whatever they want to achieve with financial independence.
Yeah, but why do you want to have this kind of big business? Is it about, the value of the asset? Is it about growing something? Is it about kind of having national presence? Like, what is it that's driving the stream?
It's definitely not the last one, national presence, but it's definitely about building something. But to the point before about just trying to have really cool people that jump on the bus with you and want to also achieve really cool things for their clients. It can be done with a lot of fun, and it can be done with financial success as well. So it's trying to blend all those things in together. In my last business interest, we, over the 8.5 years I was in that business, we helped raise or donated $750,000 to not-for-profits on the coast.
Wow.
So, and just in June, just gone, we did our first not-for-profit event. We raised $36,000 for the Wishless Health Foundation on the Sunshine Coast, a golf day. It was a cracker.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's somewhat intertwined. If our staff are winning and having fun, our clients are getting taken care of, and we're getting more clients, and therefore we can give back on the flip side. And it's just this beautiful synergy that I feel like can go even bigger.
Yeah. And I think this is something that a lot of brokers will think about when they're actually establishing a presence in a community for the first time, is kind of either like sponsoring an event or putting on some coffee in a coffee morning, or kind of getting their name out there for different ways and different reasons. But a lot of the time it is about charity as well. A lot of charity work going on in this industry, which is amazing to see. How do you go about actually organising a day like that? Do you kind of, just tap people on the shoulder that you know? Are you just sort of, pounding the pavements?
I'm smiling, Annie, because it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
In the past, I had some wonderful teammates that helped create these days, and we got organised and marquees are up. This particular day, I was setting up marquees nice and early and pulling them down, so it was a different experience for me as a business owner this time. But usually what will happen is if you start a message out there saying we want to do something great for the netball club or the sporting club, if there's enough momentum behind it, it comes together. With this particular golf day, we're supporting one of the biggest charities on the coast that supports the Health Foundation, the hospital for sick kids. doesn't take much for momentum to build behind that. We've done 7 of these before, so it had a good track record of coming together. But starting from scratch, you definitely need some good contacts in your market to try and help bring it together.
Yeah. And do you have your branding on that so people know who's kind of organising it?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, all the way through, which people say to me regularly, how much money do you make out of these, etc. There's no measure of what you're doing. The real number we talk about is how much you raise and the impact that has, and everything else is just a byproduct that may or may not play out.
Do you think it's a good business generation lead as well? Like it helps get your brand awareness out there as well?
Most definitely, yeah. I can never put my hand on my heart and say, that particular person can be a client or wanted to know more based on that event. But without a doubt that, if you associate yourself with another strong brand, it's a giving brand, it definitely helps.
Yeah. And when you think about joining the broking industry, your first 12 months in, I'm always curious to look at what are some of the things that are the biggest challenges in this industry? So if you were king of the broking industry for the day, what would you do to make it better?
Accreditations all in a couple of forms.
Okay.
Yep, that was...
Standardised accreditations.
Yeah, most definitely. As much PD as we can do. I'm loving that, and the barriers to entry, just keep raising them up. We're a trusted relationship with our clients, and they've got to continue to make sure that we're doing the right thing the whole way through the process. Yep.
So you want to see a higher barrier to entry?
Once the barrier of entry is set and everyone's at that level, just continue to educate, continue to make sure that people are
ongoing education.
Yep.
And then when you think about the best bits about being a broker, what do you think is the highlight of your career so far?
Just helping so many different customers in different ways. Before we'd meet a client and try and say, wonderful, I think I can see how this will work with your particular policy, with your particular need, with the policy that we have at the one bank. And now it's a matter of sitting there going, I can think of 4 to 5 good solutions for you. Just depends on which way you want to go. Let's talk more about that and how it's going to help your end goal.
Yeah. And when you think about the kind of things that you do to actually shake off a week or the day, a lot of the time you can be having really stressful conversations with clients and trying to get a last minute settlement done and working, long hours as well. It can be quite hard to actually decompress from that. What do you do to unwind and de-stress?
I used to try and watch the Broncos on a Friday night, have a win, but that doesn't happen much at the moment.
More stressful.
Yeah, but I do love going for a walk at the beach with my wife. We just go down there, either go for a nice quick walk along the Broadwalk or jump on the beach and take your shoes off and just relax.
Lovely, back in nature. And if you had any advice for either yourself before you get started or before you got started, if you go back in time and tell yourself 12 months ago, some advice to hit the ground running and succeed, or conversely, for any new broker listening to this who might be thinking, I need some help, what advice would you give them?
I'm glad you asked that, Annie, because I've lived it, and it was a troublesome process initially, but do that prior planning, set some good lead time before you're actually going to become a broker, find some good mentors and contacts in the industry that can help you out, especially if it gets tough, but leading up to that launch date, and then once you launch, just have as much fun as you can.
Lovely. Nicholas Barker, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story about Brokers for Queensland.
Thanks for having me, Annie. Appreciate it.
If you've got any questions for me or for Nicholas, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au. And of course, take a listen back to previous episodes on the Advisor Podcast Network. We've got about 10 years worth of podcasts there with Australia's leading brokers, new brokers, women in finance, aggregators, lenders, BDMs, the lot. If you've got a question for us, you'll almost undoubtedly find the answer in one of the podcast episodes. But if you do have a question for me, you can also feel free to pop an email over. I'm sure I'd be more than happy to help you out or point you in the right direction if I know someone that can help you out too. And do tune in next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.